super excited to be sharing some fun info for you guys today. Today we are going to be covering how to contour cut for heat transfer paper in Silhouette Studio. Now, just so you guys know, I already saw some requests like, hey, can we do this in Cricut? Can you do this in other vinyl cutters? If your vinyl cutter it's going to be called either contour cutting or print and cut. Then you could follow similar steps to get the same results with whatever equipment you got. But today we're going to be, just for ease of use and because a lot of our customers do use Silhouette Studio, we're going to be showing you how to do it in Silhouette Studio. But if you want tutorials on how to do it in SignMaster or Great Cut, if you have a GCC cutter, we got those up on our YouTube. So there you go. We're not leaving you guys out high and dry. You should be seeing this is Silhouette Studio, you guys. For those of you guys who have never ever used Silhouette Studio, well, we have a couple other videos to help you get more acquainted with it, but I'm briefly just gonna cover it. So this is our main page here. And then on the right, these are called, I think they're called like modules. And so we click on different ones, and each of these modules has different things for us to mess with here in Silhouette Studio. And so I'm not gonna cover all of them, just the ones that are relevant to the presentation today. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna import our graphic into Silhouette Studio. And so you can do this two ways. You can drag and drop. And so I don't have, you won't be able to see the drag and drop. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna drag it over. And this is a very high resolution image. So yeah, it's taking up like my whole doggone screen there. There we go. I prefer to work with really high resolution images. Of course, we're gonna scale this down to fit what we're doing here. So I just dragged it in, and you can see it just, boom, came in. I'm gonna hit the delete key, okay? The other way to do it, the kind of longer way, is you go to File, and you go to Open, or you can just hit Control-O. And then I have a couple different versions here. I'm gonna open this is a JPEG right here. I'm gonna double click that, and boom, it just comes in. Now again, this is gigantic, so I'm gonna shrink it down a little bit to make it more manageable. Now here's the thing, when you click Open, it's gonna, so right here you see I have my different tabs. This was my practice that I already tested to make sure it was gonna work. You see I would open this file in a new tab. Let's say I was already, oh no, I don't. What you guys are missing here, I don't want to save that. Let's say I was already working here and I already had some artwork going on, and I just wanted to add an image into this existing page. Then you would use the drag. So what I did is I think I can show you this, right? It should show, yeah, perfect. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna resize this so you guys can see exactly what's going on. I'm just gonna grab this file, gonna drag it and then drop it in, right? And that's how you get a file to your existing like workspace. Another quick thing you could do is just resize it up here. I think like 5, there we go. So we're gonna import the graphic in, and then we're gonna set up our project in Page Setup. So right here, this top little module there, Page Setup. Now I have a Cameo Plus plugged in, so it's automatically detected. Cutting mat. You absolutely, if you're gonna be using light transfer paper, and even if you're gonna use dark or opaque transfer paper, I do recommend using a cutting mat. And I have my large one, I have the 12 by 24 inch cutting mat that I'll be using today. Click that and voila, it appears. So here we go. So we set it, now we're gonna set our, we set our cutting mat, now we're gonna set our media size. And it has letter already ready. And so since I'm printing on a letter size, boom, I hit letter, and now it fills in the letter size. Here's one thing you're gonna wanna do if it's not already selected, you're gonna wanna click show print border. And that just lets you know what space you have to work. So I don't know if you guys see it, a little thin gray line here, that's the print border. Boom, and that's what we're doing today. All right, now here is the most important step for setting up your document. You got to turn on the registration mark. So we're still in page setup, but right there, this third tab, you're going to turn on registration marks. And now we see, oh, what are these? So registration marks, these little marks, this square, these little owl things in the corners, the Cameo will read these. There's a laser, and I'll show you that in a little bit. There's a laser that's going to read these, and that lets it know where exactly to cut on the page. I don't usually mess with any of these defaults. I leave them as is for best results. Once you've gotten the hang of it, you could maybe try adjusting these defaults, but honestly, they work great, and so I'm not gonna mess with them. Okay, so now we have our page set up, and let's just make sure that this is where we want it. So I actually want this little guy to be bigger. Now you see this red cutoff line, all right? My main graphic cannot extend past that, and in fact, I don't even like to get too close to it, just because I want to make sure that this is gonna cut right the first time. Pretty good size. Oh, and also, here's a cool trick. If you have a PNG, where am I? There we go. So if you have a PNG, and see this one, I named it transparent background, so I'd know the difference. You see that? That's pretty cool, huh? And that one, I guess I sized better. See this PNG on the new version. See, I haven't updated my Silhouette Studio yet. With the latest update of Silhouette Studio, it'll automatically trace a PNG to the border, which is very cool. But for a PNG, you would it works the same way. On the new version, when I imported this, in the new version, it automatically traces it, which is so cool. And it's gonna save you the next step that we're about to go through, which is the trace. Trace tool. I say it looks like a little piece of toast. Someone pointed out that it's a butterfly, but I will never see this as a butterfly. It's a little piece of toast. So we're gonna click that there. I'm gonna click select trace area. And what that does is it allows me to draw a box around my graphic. So you see, it's starting to detect the colored part against the white background, right? Now what I have to do is adjust the threshold. Threshold right here is where you're gonna do most of your adjusting. So I'm gonna increase that threshold until it colors out most of the little character, right? The inside parts, like I'm not concerned about that. Now, normally, if you're doing this for HTV, you're gonna go hit trace, but because we're only cutting out the outside, I'm gonna hit trace outer edge. And you might not be able to see it, so let's zoom in a little bit. And then it's still hard to tell, maybe. So if I move this out of the way, you'll see I have an outline of my little dude. And I'm just gonna hit one, there we go. Put him back. Now here's a pro move. When we're doing this on Jet Pro Soft Stretch, so if you have a little white border along the outside, like if the cutter cuts slightly to the outside, you have a little bit of the white border showing, it's not a big deal at all. I could send this to cut right now, or to print first. I could send this out right now and it'll be perfectly fine. But here's a little trick if you're using dark transfer paper. I'm gonna move that over really quick. You're gonna get your cut line, and right here, see this little star? That's the offset panel. We're gonna click internal offset, and you see how it created a new line on the inside? So I'm just gonna shrink that down a little bit because I actually want it to cut on the inside of my graphic, just a little bit. Gonna hit apply. Now here comes the fun part. You gotta zoom in a little bit, grab the outer layer, and then I'm just gonna hit the delete key and delete that cut line. So now I could put this little guy back, right? And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so we could see better. So you see how now this red cut line is coming in on the inside of my graphic? I clicked it, I'm just gonna hit, using the arrow keys, I'm just gonna nudge it to be a little bit better, more well-centered. There we go. I don't know if you saw those little micro adjustments, but they're gonna be great. So now the cutter is actually gonna cut on the inside of the graphic, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. Very small cutting on the inside. What that's gonna do is gonna make sure that I get full color edge to edge on the transfer when we peel it out, so there's no white border. Once these have been lined up, what I do is I'll just draw a box around them, right click and group. So now when I move the image, the cut line is gonna go with it. I can then further resize it. Maybe if I just wanted a chest logo, you could print a couple of these, copy and paste, boom, you have a couple now. And it's gonna print and cut perfectly. But we don't wanna do that, we're just making one. And I want it to fill up as much space as possible. So keeping it inside my guidelines, that looks just about right. And that's how you set up the design. Now, I know I kind of breezed through this a little bit, but don't worry, you can watch the replay. I'll leave that up there, heat.press/webinar replay. If you want to rewatch this, it's also going to be on our YouTube channel. So there we go. So now, if you're just joining us, don't worry, you could rewatch this, heat.press/webinar replay. It should be at that site about an hour or two after we finish. And then it'll be on our YouTube probably early next week, depending on how long we can edit that. Usually it's kind of a more abbreviated, edited version that's easier to follow on YouTube. Okay, so here we have it. It's ready to roll. Now, before we send it to cut, we have to print it out. Duh, it's a print and cut. So back to me. I'm here again, guys. So what we're gonna do is I don't want to accidentally unplug anything, but just so you guys know, I'm not lying. Here we go. I have a Canon Pixel right here that I'm gonna be printing out of. Now these are sold out. These are amazing printers, and they're sold out like nationwide. Like nobody has these printers right now. But this works with any, we're using inkjet heat transfer paper today, which is my personal favorite. But whatever inkjet printer you got should be just fine. If it could print, most new inkjet printers are able to print photo quality, and that's awesome. That's what you need. So if your printer was made in the last 5-10 years, like 99% sure you can use it for producing t-shirt transfers, which is what we're gonna do today. So going back to the screen, I'm going right here. You see this little printer icon, send to printer. Now here's what's cool. It's only gonna send what's on the page. So all this, like this over here, don't worry about that. It's not gonna affect anything because it's off our workspace. You're gonna hit the printer button. And I don't know why it has two here, but this Canon IX 6800 series, this is my printer, right? I'm gonna go to preferences because I wanna make sure it's gonna print nice. I usually leave it on plain paper for media type, but for print quality, I want it to print high. I want it to print high quality. If you wanna get really gnarly, you could do photo printing, but don't select borderless. You don't ever, and then see paper size. See, I'm not gonna go there because I have to adjust all these other settings. You don't wanna use borderless. In fact, I'm gonna go back to standard and I'm just gonna print on high quality because that works really good for me. You don't want borderless. You don't wanna check any of these. In fact, what you do want is you want it to be printing at 1:1 scale or 100% scale. I don't think I have that option here, which is good. But if you have that option, you don't wanna scale your print. You need it printing at 100% or 1:1 ratio. I'm gonna apply those settings and I'm gonna hit print. And the printer is going, this is happening. So because I have it on high quality usually is gonna take a little bit longer on your printer, by the way, but it's gonna look better. Every time I print like regular quality or I print at high speed, the prints just don't look as pretty. So it is what it is. I like to print at high quality, and this is actually not too bad. For a full color transfer, it printed in probably about 60 seconds, and there we go. So you'll see here, these little marks, this square mark, these corner marks, right? This is, oh, there it is. This is what the vinyl cutter is gonna read in order to tell it to cut on the cut lines that we set up. So you see there we have our Cameo Plus, that's a 15-inch model. And then we have a t-shirt already loaded onto our Craft Pro 15x15, which I've already preheated to 375. So here we go. I'm gonna prep our transfer, and to do this, I'm just gonna scoot the Cameo back for a second. So now on the screen, you remember how the page was oriented in the top left corner with the square in the top left. You will have to orient it exactly as you see on screen. And the ink's dry, so I can do this. You want to pat it down to make sure it's going to stay stuck on your cutting mat. This cutting mat has a lot of use, so it's not as sticky as it used to be. And I'm going to pull this back out now. And let's load it. So to load it, of course, you hold the mat up against the wheels. One hand, hit the up key right there. Here's a very important thing. After you've printed it, do not move anything. Do not move anything. Once it's been printed, it's basically frozen. Do not add any text, don't move it, don't resize it, nothing. We're just gonna click the send tab. And then for material, okay, so this we're using light transfer paper, and for light transfer paper, you do have to cut all the way through. So we're using the preset cardstock plane. Action is cut. We have the auto blade loaded. And so when you use the presets, it automatically sets the blade depth, the force, and the speed. Now the speed, I always like to just bump that up a little bit because you can. If this was like if there was a lot of fine little intricate details, I'd keep it slow. But because this paper is not, it's relatively thin, a little bit thinner than regular cardstock, and it's a very straightforward cut, not super detailed. That's what we're going to be going with. So I am going to just double check everything looks good, and see this red line, it's indicating where we're going to cut. Everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and click send. And after I click send, send is right here. And of course, my Cameo, it says ready. You want to make sure it says that. I'm going to click send. So you see how it's reading, there's a laser there, and it's reading those marks that got printed. Once it has successfully read those marks, it's going to adjust the blade. And now we're cutting. Those of you guys who are asking how loud is the Cameo, it's this loud. Being honest. It's about as, they say, is it louder than the Cameo 3? You know what? It just might be by like 0.5 decibel. Okay, there we go. So there's our cut job. I'm going to hit unload. And let's see if it cut all the way through, which it did. Check that out. Got a little hang, that's normal. But check that out. It cut it perfectly out of the page. Now, if you look real close to the page, now I don't know if the camera is going to be able to focus in on this. You see there's a little blue outline because we cut just on the inside of our graphic, but which is fine because now the graphic is perfectly, there's ink perfectly edge to edge, which is going to look really cool. There's no white border. If this was a dark transfer, that's 100% important. Jet Pro Soft Stretch, if you have a little white border, it's not that big of a deal. No one will really notice. What you don't want is this, because people will see. You're asking, why do we even cut it out? Because on light transfer paper, the whole sheet is covered in a polymer film. Even though the film is transparent, it's still noticeable. Like this whole, square is still gonna be noticeable when you press it, which is why we have to cut it out. And if you don't believe me, feel free to press it without trimming, and you'll see exactly what I mean. On the press, we have standard 100% cotton tee. White cotton, nothing very special about it, except it's my favorite. This is the Gildan Soft Style. Gildan doesn't even pay me to endorse them, but I do because I believe in sharing products that work great for me. Gildan Soft Style is super affordable. It's the 64,000 model. I'm gonna pre-press this really quick for about 5 seconds. The Gildan Soft Style 64,000 is super affordable, and it's a great shirt. It's very comfy, soft. I want to say it's like a 4.5 ounce, so it's pretty lightweight. Anyways, so now we're gonna press this. Normally, I do recommend that you guys use like some sort of like a T-square or something like that, but we're gonna just I'm using the hand method here. Measuring by the widest parts, that's about right. Wanted about a couple fingers below. I think this is centered. Honestly, this is not really a lesson on centering t-shirts. It's a lesson on printing. Gonna get some parchment paper real quick. And you might be wondering, can I use the Teflon sheet, the nonstick sheet? Of course. I just don't know where mine's at right now. So that's loaded in there. I'm gonna slide that back in. I've already adjusted the pressure now. For Jet Pro Soft Stretch, I do recommend using heavy pressure or a firm pressure, right? There we go. 30 seconds on the clock. 30 seconds just like that. I'm gonna open this up here. There we go. Now that's a firm pressure, so it's a little, had to kind of pop it open there. There's 2 schools right now on how to peel your Jet Pro Soft Stretch. The first one is you peel it hot immediately and then just give it a little stretch, which is what I usually do. However, some people say let it cool to be completely cold peel it, and then hit it again with parchment paper for another 15, 20 seconds. Because we're short on time, I'm just going to peel it hot. Now that was dumb. I should not have done it like that. You want to get it in one smooth peel. And so, man, I am just totally messing up today. If you're having trouble peeling it in one smooth peel, then I would definitely recommend from there, yes, do a cold peel. Cold peel is just so much easier. Now, another thing about Jet Pro Soft Stretch, and I might just hit it again so I could do this. But another thing you can do is you can, actually, let's just do it. What you want to do is you want to give it a little stretch while it's still warm. Not too much to where it cracks. And this should all be done while it's hot, right? While the transfer is very hot. And these are just pro tips to getting the best results with this particular transfer. And then you just hit it one more time after peeling for about 10, 15 seconds. Again, a hot peel and a gentle stretch. That's the classic way to do it. But one of my buddies here actually, shout out to my guys, Eric and Jesus in the warehouse. They started doing cold peels and then hitting it again. And so now it's gonna give it another stretch. It's gonna be a little pliable. So you just wanna let it chill out for a second. But look at that. Full color transfers. And again, this lasts super duper stinking long. If you scroll really deep on our Instagram, I have a wash test after a few years of Jet Pro Soft Stretch, and it looks amazing. This is definitely retail quality, very similar to a thin screen print, very comparable, light transfer paper. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free. Join our Facebook group, heat.press/FB group. Questions are welcome there. You can also email us, support@heatpressnation.com. Other than that, I'll see you guys around. Next week is, of course, holiday week, so we have a live event on Tuesday, Facebook and YouTube. There's no training webinar next week because I'm going to be on vacation, and I am stoked about that. So we'll see you guys around, and I hope everybody has a very happy, very safe holiday weekend, and deuces, everybody.